to like make maybe football. And yeah, it doesn't something I really to go somewhere.
Hi, I'm Malin.
I'm Jacob.
I'm Michael.
And I'm Elena. We are Team Home, and today we are going to talk to you about our work towards improving the process of counting the homeless population. So in 2019, it was estimated in San Francisco that there was roughly 8,000 homeless people. However, they used the traditional method with that. With another method, they counted 17.5 thousand homeless people in San Francisco that year. So, why do we care? Why is this important? Well, agencies and nonprofit shelters, to be able to allocate the correct funds, resources, and so forth to help this population, they need the correct data. So currently the method of collecting the homeless population data is by using the census, which occurs every 10 years, or by going up on the streets and counting everyone you see. That sounds effective, right? Mm-hmm. Other problems that occur is that with the homeless population, this is an extremely vulnerable population. Perhaps they feel humiliated or de-dignified, and they just don't want to talk to someone about them being homeless. I mean, would you want to talk about that? Or they're afraid that the government or someone is going to use their information and abuse it. Or they just don't want to give out their information for free. So here's our solution, kiosk. Kiosks will be able to accurately count the amount of homeless people while doing it in a respectful manner and giving out a free incentive of a hygiene pack. To use kiosk, you simply scan your fingerprint and you answer a short questionnaire, and then you get your hygiene pack, all while your fingerprint is being encrypted so that no one knows your information, but we get our data so that agencies can correctly plan for the future.
The design requirements met are that the kiosk is easy to use with a touch screen. It's accessible with graphic prompts to help the participant complete the survey, and it secures participants' data. The alternative designs considered were a global positioning system tracker to be used for unhomeless, but we found that to be too invasive. The thermal imaging tracker to track homeless people in areas where you may not necessarily find them easily, but we found that to be too expensive. And lastly, we thought of having a homeless person, employing him to count other homeless people, but we found that to be that solution to that would yield a unreliable data for us to use.
So, this here is our prototype, and I'm going to come bring it over here. Hopefully you all can see. And it's a pretty simple system, so if you don't mind helping demonstrate. You start by clicking here to begin. Okay, then it will first ask if you have a permanent place of residence. So if you said yes, if you don't mind saying yeah, it will say that this survey is not intended for your demographic because it is supposed to be helping the homeless. And it will go back to the home screen. But if you say you do not have a permanent place of residence, so no, it will then ask for your fingerprint, and then let go. And then it'll ask for your sex, so you get to choose your age.
Oldest person in the room.
And your race.
Let's see, what should I be?
Okay, and then you click there to claim your hygiene kit. So click on that, and then it'll come up. And there you go, right there.
I can't wait.
So let's say, okay. Let's say that we have already gotten your information, and you are allowed one hygiene pack a month. So, if you don't mind also helping me, if you click to begin, and then you don't have a permanent place of residence, and then you put your fingerprint, and if they already have your fingerprint in for the month, it will tell you that the survey is, oh, no, that is not what. It says that your information, has already been recorded, which means that, you have already gotten your hygiene pack for the month, and to come back next month for a new one. Over on the screen is the flowchart of our idea that we can discuss later, if desired.
So why do we not actually take names and photographs. We do take fingerprints. However, we do not keep your fingerprints. We keep an encrypted version of the fingerprints, and our encryptor is non-invertible. We also have a central database, which is a global pool of personal identification numbers to alleviate the problem of double counting. Our kiosk is expected to be around $4,000, and our initial budget is about $50,000. For more details on that, we can see you later. And we intend to place kiosks in various homeless shelters, in community centers, in select supermarkets, and other strategic locations, just in New York or San Francisco for field tests and validation. So our field tests will help us to improve our design should the need arise.
So to get started, we will need about 5 people involved to help with maintenance, transportation of the kiosks, and the overall project. In terms of funding, we plan on asking government entities along with for-profit corporations, such as the Department of Housing and Urban Development and the National Alliance to End Homelessness. As you can see, our prototype represents our solution of being easy to use, accessible, and secure. Nonprofit companies along with governments can benefit from the accuracy of this data. They can better allocate resources, plan for services, and distribute food and clothing to the homeless. Homeless is here and it's now. And we need to come up with a solution today so that we can come up with a better community tomorrow. Thank you. Yes.
How are you gonna get, or basically, how are you gonna get homeless people to like know what your system's about and like trust the system?
Yeah, exactly. Trust is a big one, and currently there are organizations going out and about to gain the trust of homeless people, along with trying to understand them better. And so we plan on partnering with those types of organizations so that we can have a bigger pool of volunteers to help us, while also being able to have them have knowledge about our project, and so that they can help the initial homeless population understand. In addition, if we can get people, so in tent cities, they often have a mayor. So if we can get those who have a little more power and recognition to come on board with this, they can also help promote and show how to use it.
Just 2 comments. I think this would be great if you put this somewhere where the homeless normally congregate, such as maybe a food shelter or maybe a library for internet access. So that's a place they're already comfortable going to, and you could have that. I'm wondering, would this be in more than English?
Yeah, so in future prototypes, if this idea proves to actually be feasible, we plan on having it in at least 2 languages, preferably English and a language that's very popular in that area. Furthermore, we plan on the graphics being easy to use, so if you cannot speak the language or you're deaf or something like that, you can just look at it and follow the directions as the graphics promote.
That's good.
Yes.
What keeps people from gaming the system to just get the packets without providing the information or using all 10 of their IDs each time they log in?
Yeah. I think this is where we come up with a more detailed plan, and that is a valid point of not wanting to get multiple. We can always track the fingerprints too, and always suggest a certain fingerprint. We were thinking the thumb and 1 additional fingerprint in case the thumb is not available to use as an option.
And what keeps me from lying about race, ethnicity, and so on?
So there is really no thing to determine, but this is just to help better get demographics and statistics. So for example, then when we are reaching for, when a company or when a government is reaching for national funding, they can better say oh, well, we have this many, and we predict that we have this many of this demographic. So we need, for example, maybe if we have more females, we need more feminine products to then be able to help those local homeless females.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Well, good.
Two things, I would test the words carefully. I looked at demographic, that's actually a pretty big polysyllabic word to understand. Think about it. There was one other word that I thought, my brain says, and the other would be that in the populations, and you could do this in your research, there are probably 25 to 40% of the homeless population actually would not be able to interact with that at all. They would have they may not have the mental or other capacity to do that, so that could be part of the research.
Yeah. So, okay, so we didn't figure out what our final prototype would be until like sometime yesterday, not exactly the day before when we should have, because there's so many factors and so many different types of people who encompass that population. So this prototype, at least right now, it's for, I don't know how to phrase it politely, but a person who can actually use this. But we hope in future iterations of this prototype to make it more accessible. We just have to do more research and talk to more of the knowledge leaders of this topic.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.